Hey guys, thanks for watching my channel today. A little nipply out there today. I thought I'd take a few minutes and talk about a subject that came up the other day with a bunch of my buddies. We were talking about the fact that there's always a current. People don't think of most lakes as actually having a current, but I got to tell you, if there's no current, there's no bass. After all these years of fishing, and I mean all these years, I've learned one thing. It says current positions of bass are always going to be based on the current. And you need to understand the current. I don't care if you're 27 or if you're getting close to 80, like me. You can have the best rod money can buy. You can have forward-facing sonar that shows you the freckles on a fish. But if you don't understand current, you're fishing blind. Let me tell you something most people miss. Bass are lazy. They're lazy and they're not very smart. Not in a bad way. I mean, they're a smart lazy in some ways. Efficient, maybe, is a better word. They don't swim around all day hoping to bump into lunch. They let the current do some of their grocery shopping for them. On rivers, it's obvious. You can see it moving. You can see that water moving right alongside your boat. You can feel it pushing the boat. But here's the thing. Current exists everywhere, even in lakes, even in small ponds. That little farm pond that you're, afraid to hit your golf ball into, it's got a current. Why? Because wind creates current. Generation schedules create it. And what I mean by that is boat traffic can create it. So if you're out on a lake and you don't see much going on and there's zero wind, you might think, well, there's no current today. Well, there probably is, because other things can create it, not just the wind. And boat traffic's a good example. In Florida, a lot of the places where I fish, we have canal systems and water control systems that can often move the water by raising and lowering. For example, on Lake Okeechobee, if you put your boat in on the rim canal, especially on the east side of the lake, you're going to find that the only way to get to the big lake itself is to go through one of the locks. And what happens is the lock and the water level, the water in the canal and the water level of the lake are often different. And so as a result, when you go into the lock, they either have to raise or lower the water dependent upon what it is in the lake in comparison. And this in and of itself is enough to create a current. When that water starts moving, even just a little, it's like somebody rang a dinner bell. Bait fish get uneasy. They reposition. They lose stability. And bass, they slide right in and take advantage of the situation. I can tell you, I've been out on Lake Kissimmee. I'm sorry, on the river, Kissimmee River. And I've been on other rivers when I've seen this happen if they have locks. When they open that lock, and this has happened many times, I've sat below the lock knowing it was going to open and let some water flow through at certain times of the day. When that lock opens, the fish put on a feed bag. And I mean, the fishing will be crazy for the next 30 minutes. And part of that is because the force of the water, it's no longer the current, it's the force of the water coming through that open gate, draws vertebrae, draws small fish, bait fish, draws everything through and into this turbulent water. And the bass, the catfish, other large predators, they're just waiting there to feast on whatever comes through. Bass will sit often just on the outside of the current. They don't want to be in the current either. So they'll look for points, bridge pilings, grass edges, docks, laydowns, shell beds, shell bars, anything that might break up the flow. And the reason they sit there, well, is they want slack water to rest in, and they don't want to be caught up in the turbulent water that's coming through once that gate is open. But they want to be prepared to grab the groceries as they come flying by. That seam where the fast water meets the slow water, that's the grocery line. If you're casting into dead water while current's flowing 10 feet away, you might as well be casting in your backyard. The biggest mistake I see, especially with older anglers, and I can say that because I'm one of them, we fall into a routine. We fish memories. We go back to the spot. But the fish aren't married to the spot. They're married to the current. If the water's not moving, that sweet ledge you caught them on last week might be a ghost town. Turn the current on, it's like turning the lights on Christmas. I've had days where I couldn't buy a bite. Then for some reason, the current picks up. The wind shifts, or the tide starts pulling. And suddenly, same lure, same cast, same place, and it's like somebody dumped bass into the lake. What changed? Not sure. Wasn't the lure, wasn't me, wasn't where I was casting. The only thing it could be was the current. When I was younger, I used to think I needed more lures. At 77, I don't need more lures. I need more awareness. I need to pay attention. I need to fish with the current, not against it. Another thing, I always think about the direction of my cast. Bass will face into the current in the same way that trout fishermen know that trout will face into the current. Why? Because that's the direction the bait's coming, and that's where they're going to find their groceries. If you're throwing against it, sometimes that'll work, but more often than not, you're showing the fish something that's not natural to them, and they're likely not to respond. Predators like bass expect the food to drift right to them. So you want to position your boat so that the bait travels naturally. That one adjustment often can put more fish in the boat than any new technology will ever do. Some of the specifics as they pertain to Florida, we don't have mountain rivers, but we have wind-driven current. We have lock systems. We have spillways. We have a lot of movement. And we have canals that pull water in and pull water out. If you fish long enough, you start watching water more than you watch your graph. And you'll see grass lean slightly. You'll see floating debris drifting by. You'll see shad flicker differently. These are all clues. When there's no current, let me tell you the truth, no current days are the hardest days. Bass scatter, they roam, they suspend, they get moody. That's when patience matters. Slow down, downsize, fish tight to cover. But I tell you this, if I had a choice between perfect weather and moving water, give me ugly weather and moving water every time. The older I get, the more I realize fishing is not about force. It's about understanding. Current is invisible to the naked eye. You can't always see it with your electronics, but it shapes everything under the surface of the water. It determines where the bass are going to hold, what the oxygen content might be, where the bass position, and when they hear that dinner bell, when they decide to feed. You don't want to fight current. Use it to your advantage. And if you're in your 70s like me, conserving energy matters. Let the water do the work. Position the boat correctly. Make efficient casts. Fish smart. And just as a final thought, if you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Don't ever ask, where are the bass? Ask, what's the current doing? And if you find the fish, and at this stage of your life, if you're not chasing the fish all over the lake and you're letting the fish tell you where they're at, that's something that current will teach you. And it's one lesson I wish I had learned back when I was in my 20s. But if you'll excuse me, I'm going to check out the wind before I check out my tackle, because current means everything. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope it warms up today, because I'd sure like to get out on the water. Thanks for following me, and if you have a comment or two, leave them down below. I'll try to answer them when I get a chance. Wishing you a great, wonderful afternoon.